The sun rises the same as usual, and just for spite, it's bright and full. There's no sense rushing it. Everything in its proper time. First, the running of the widows, then the calling, the moving on, almost smack dab in the middle of a 2 full week, and finally, the wording off. All that, and in my head, today will always be about moving on. My leg's cramping, but I won't get up and walk it out. Instead, I settle into it, roll with the pain trickling up and down my leg. My stomach tightens and loosens, tightens again. The window's still closed, but there's a sudden hot breeze in the room. My skin is flushed, sweating all over. My scalp prickles with it. The sudden moisture makes my skin itch. I deserve to be uncomfortable. Wasn't I lying in this very spot 3 years ago when the messenger knocked on the door? Didn't I already know it was time when Moses's gargled voice made its way up the stairs, screech first? Of course I knew his name had been called. We were all at the calling. I just didn't know they'd come to collect him so soon. How little time there was to prepare. How hard it would be to know what to say when the time came. I got up, rolled up the quilt, closed the bedroom door, tightened my robe, and went down the stairs to comfort him, slumped down, knees already on the floor. I had already made peace with the news. Of course, there'll be a price for the children. First, my seat on the council, then Moses, then my job as a teacher. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. One thing for each child. But like Moses said, it's a whole lot easier to make peace with moving on when you're not the one doing it. I checked the clock anyway. It's 6 o'clock. The messengers will just be starting their rounds. The mail comes this time every morning, but nobody really wants to see them. They could drive to deliver the mail, throw their costumes and sacks in the back seat. It'd be easier on all of us. But instead, they walk, no matter how long it takes, as if folks prefer the sound of their slow footed heels clicking down cobblestones, delivering bad news door to door. Sometimes it takes hours for them to make their way. The longer it takes, the better the news, though, so no one, including me, wants to hear from them first thing. I put my bedding away, close the door, and settle by the wood stove with a cup of coffee. I have the kettle on for the messenger, a cup on the sideboard, a plate of biscuits with jam and butter in case the messenger is hungry after a long day's work. I keep the lights off and unplug all the electricals. It's bad luck otherwise. I'm sitting with my back to the window and facing northeast, chanting, I'm open and ready to receive good news. I'm open and when there's a knock on the door. It could be the newspaper kid expecting a tip for throwing my paper on the porch like it's not her job to do just that. Of course, I'll tip her anyway. The last thing I need is her complaining to a parent and that parent complaining to the wrong sister, brother, or heaven forbid, charter mother. There won't be enough I'm sorry's to protect me. Not this close to the festivities. So I fish out some coins from the jar, open the door with a smile and a welcome at the ready. The messenger's on the porch, hand raised about to knock again, head already shaken as I swing open the door. With the pursed lips, midnight black wig pinned up in a stiff bouffant, mustard seed dress with matching cinch, gloves, and clutch, I know the message is from Mother before she even says a word. Leave it to Mother to send a messenger instead of ringing the party line. Mother likes the drama of it all. The messengers have been delivering news ever since the Curdle Creek Theater was shut down. That's 40 years of delivering bad news. All those actors out of work gave Mother an idea. The old post office was closed, and the theater became the new post office slash theatric society. The actors became mail carriers, delivering news in character. They've gotten good at it, even won awards. I step back, unsteady, but of course the messenger comes inside when I invite her to. It's rude not to invite the messenger in, and if nothing else, I'm always polite. She saunters down the hall, two high heels click clacking on the wood floor. Before long, she's in the living room. It's a short walk, but since Mother's corsets make her unnaturally thin around the middle, the messenger's struggling to breathe. My heart's not beating, so I can hear her panting. She must have rushed straight here. My hands are shaking, but I take the envelope from the messenger's fingers. It's customary to settle the slip before the reading of the message. It wouldn't be fair to let bad news sour a good performance. I sign the receipt and add a generous tip, stuff the slip back into the envelope and seal it. The messenger sits down in my chair just the way Mother would. She takes the letter from the clutch and places it on the table between us. She moves deliberately. She doesn't settle into the chair. She perches, hovering over it. That's just how Mother sits. I want to say it, but of course she already knows. It's a small town and Mother's on the council. Everybody knows the charter mothers. What does she want? Maybe it's news about the children. Maybe she's heard where they are and they're fine and they want to come home, or an apology for blaming me for the leaving, my heart's beating fast again and my fingers ache. I can't crack them. Not now. Not with the messenger looking more and more like Mother by the minute. If you wouldn't do it in front of the person, don't do it in front of the messenger, they say. Not that the messenger would judge you for it. Messengers would tell the person about it, though, unless you pay them not to, which is against the rules. Or you nominate them for the moving on, which isn't. Anyway, I already know who I'm nominating, and I don't have no change to spare. I fold my hands in my lap and wait for the reading to begin. The messenger puts my cup to her lips. May I? She asks. She's thoroughly in character now. I couldn't stop her if I wanted to. Of course. The words come out on their own. I'll get you the biscuits. As if I can't stop myself, I cut one in the middle, slather it with butter and jam for her. The messenger clears her throat. I drag over the ottoman. She raises her feet, settles back. 10 minutes pass with only the loud beating of my heart, occasional rattling of the wind, and her steady wheezing. Before long, it gets kind of comforting. It can't be bad news. If it were, Mother would have directed the messenger to start before now. The only reason it wasn't reported right away was because Mother hadn't believed they'd gone. No grandchild of mine would disgrace my name. They have a debt to pay to this town, and by blood or by dollar, they'll pay it. It was frightful when she found out. I was half worried she'd find them under a bed or in a closet somewhere, even though I'd already looked myself. I knew just as sure as I'm breathing that they must have been long gone by the time Moses sent for the messenger. They're dead. I just know it. My children are dead. If they weren't, they'd find a way to get word to me. Not through a messenger or the party line operator who just goes straight to the council, but they'd find some way if there was one. And the first thing I'd want to know, after being sure they're all living, is whether leaving was worth all they gave up to do it. Osira! He suddenly screeches. The messenger's voice is high trilled. My name trips over her tongue in that awkward accent Mother uses to make Osira sound like a sin and a curse all at once. And just like when she calls my name, I jump.